In this video, I'll explain the benefits of using source control for GameMaker, and more specifically, I'll show how to implement Git on your project. If you already know about source control, you can skip the introduction and click on the timestamp in the description. Now, let's dive into what benefits Git have on your project. First of all, it functions as a remote storage, so you always have a backup if your file somehow gets deleted or corrupted. I've seen it numerous times where people have lost their GameMaker project, either because their hard disk malfunctioned or because they lost the file somehow. You can of course manually back up your project, but it's quite easy to do with Git once it's set up. Another benefit is that you can easily track and manage change to your code over time. That gives great visibility and control for you as developer. At last, if you're not working alone, it is almost required to use this, as it makes it so much easier. So how does it work? A project has branches. When you create your first project, you typically have one master branch. Each bulk of code change makes a new commit to the branch. Code changes can be as big as a huge feature or simply a missing semicolon somewhere. You can then branch out from a certain commit, meaning you can work on the code separately from your master branch. For example, if you want to work on a certain feature. And when you're ready with the feature, you can merge this back to your master branch. This is very useful when you have multiple people. They can each make their own branch and merge into master when they're ready. It can also be that you want to develop a new large feature, but you still need to bug fix on your master branch while developing it separately. If you want to learn more about Git, there are tons of resources online. This is just a brief overview. What you need now is a service that can host your Git repository. There are several options that all are free. For this video, I'll show you how to do it with Gitlab. Create a user and create a repository, and you'll end up with something like this. Gitlab provides an HTTPS link to clone out your project. You'll need that for your GameMaker configuration. Inside GameMaker, you can go to Preferences, Plugin, Source Control, and fill out the information about you. In your credentials, you should use the account created at Gitlab and use the HTTPS link provided. Now, to enable it in your project, you need to go to Main in your bottom right corner and click Enable Source Control. You can now see on your resources which have changed since the last commit by the exclamation mark. Clicking on Source Control and then Commit will show you which files have been modified. Take a moment here to verify the files are correct. Sometimes you end up creating code you don't want anyway. You need to put all the files you want committed to the staged section. Write a brief description about what the commit changes. This is very useful for later overview. Once committed, the code is saved to your local Git repository. To save it on your GitLab server, you must first push. Then you can refresh your GitLab page and you can see the changes are stored correctly. If you're working with multiple people or on different computers, you want to pull the latest changes down to your local computer before you push. This sometimes results in a conflict if the same files have been modified, and you will have to resolve these conflicts. If you later find out the code you committed should not be used anyway, you can always revert back to a previous commit. This is the basics of setting Git up for GameMaker. And you may ask, is this actually necessary for my project? My rule of thumb is that after you have your initial prototype, or you have some code that would actually cost too much time to recreate, you should definitely set up a Git repository. Also, if you're working with one or more programmers, you want a Git repository as soon as possible. Another suggestion is to try to stick to the master branch as much as you can. Creating branches leads to merge conflicts, and that will take time to resolve. A master branch only is also much more simple to understand for most projects. I hope this gave you an overview of how to use Git in GameMaker.